So I want to begin this video with statistics I worked so hard to gather, and it's from my scouting reports. I have a handful of slides here with tables. The first table here, I charted run pass situation by situation. So as you can see here, first down, it's a 70% run, 30% pass, despite personnel. Now in 11 personnel, it gets deeper than 70%. So you can see here it's first down, 70% run, 30% pass. It's most likely a heavy inside zone, a duo for Judkins or an outside zone even. And then I put the notes here. So on first down, in this case, I would be in a 4-3 overlook or a 3-4 look. Middle linebacker, in terms of linebackers, I want the middle linebacker inside. And obviously there's a Sam on the strong side here. And then there's the Sam on the strong side, obviously. And then that obviously forces a predictable second down. And I would for sure play cover 4 in this case because that defense has the safeties in run support. So they basically come down into the box post snap to help with the run. Obviously, I'm going to disguise it, so say I can play a one hole, and then with the safety kind of tangling between the in the upper box area, and then he pops up post snap because I don't want them to hit me with the play action and kind of suck my safeties down. They don't usually do that because their percentage on high pass plays isn't that much, but you want to keep your team safe and play situational football. So here we got second and medium, which is 4 to 6 yards, 60% run, 40% pass. Obviously a higher percentage of pass, but the run, which is their main strength, is is the most here. And they still run. It's obviously a still run first. They set up play action. So for example, they would run on first down, and then on second down, you'd think it's another run. That's when they set up the play action to catch you into that cover 4 and kind of do what I just explained to get that first down or stay in front of the chains and make it a third and very imaginable. So now second down so now they can't really run. So now they're second down and now they can't really do what they want on second down here. Now it's third and short. Then it's third and short where it's 90% run. They want the first down. They're going to run power, inside zone, or a wildcat with Judkins, just like last game against Miami where they pulled out the wildcat in these third and shorts. And how I would attack it, I would want it to be in a 4-4 defense, a bare front. I want cover 0. I want the safeties in the box. Obviously, they can kind of take that one-on-one, kind of burn me if I'm in that defense, and that's why I emphasize on disguise. The cornerbacks are going to show cushion. The defensive line are going to penetrate the A and B gaps, and all linebackers are going to be assigned 2 gaps in the run fit to stop the inside powers or dives or whatever the case may be, especially with Judkins, a tough running back. And if it's third and medium, I'm going to call a 4-3 over defense, just like I would on first down. Something similar to that in that nature, right? Because it's a bigger personnel on defense. But I'm going to call it cover 2 because cover 2 limits the outside runs even more, as well as play action. So if they're going to pass on third down, it could be a play action. So that's why I want that cover 2. 1, prevent outside runs, and if they do run, they get onto a 4th and short. And then if it's play action, I got the hook zones and the flat cornerbacks taking things away until my pass rush gets in. Or I'm playing a cover 3 strong or a cover 3 buzz, a middle field closed look where I have the free safety in the box so he could crash down. And either way, whether it's pass, play action, whatever, I'm safe here, and I guarantee myself to get them hopefully on a 4th down, as opposed to playing, for example, a cover 4 where they could play action and quick throw it, and it gives them a better chance to convert that into a first down. And that's why I would actually go that route. And let's talk personnel. So personnel, 11 personnel look, which is one running back, 1 tight end, and 3 wide receivers. 45% of the snaps. Obviously, Gabriel is comfortable here because a lot of RPOs come out of this personnel. meaning they have the option to run, which by the way, the runs on RPOs do affect the numbers of like percentage of runs. So for example, on third and short, they have a 90% of running, but that probably is an RPO. So he probably has the option to pass on that to a quick slant or whatever. But that look definitely is the look where Gabriel is used to, and he's used to it from Oregon. You got 12 personnel, which is a heavier look with 2 tight ends, 1 running back. That's 35%. And then 21 personnel, an even heavier look, which is 2 running backs, 1 tight end. Most likely it's going to be a split close here. It's 15%, so it's short yardage. They have 2 running backs in the backfield out of a split close or something in that nature. And it's something where they want to hit a flat or a wheel, mostly used on short yardage situations to where you crash down even more because you see 2 running backs. And then if it's a cross action, so he hands it off to the first running back, it's a fake. It's a play action. And then he hands it off to the second guy and it's a fake. And then he sucks the middle linebackers down. And that's where he can throw a quick drag or a quick over. That's where that comes in handy. And then obviously 10 personnel, which is 0 tight ends and 1 running back, 4 wide receivers. This is 5%. And I put 2 stars here because it's usually used in 2 minutes. They rarely use it. And yes, it was hard work. I had to go back to see that precise situation. And the past 3 games didn't have 2-minute drills. I wanted to see their tendencies and their reactions on 2-minute drills to certain things like pressure, certain coverages. And they did run a 2-minute drill when they played the Rams in the preseason. And I took that part of that game. I didn't obviously watch it all because it's preseason. Obviously, I'd look at this 11 personnel. It gives you the look and idea that they're passing, and then they run. So they try to trick you from that aspect. But I think going into this game ready, knowing the defensive coverages I want to play, I think I can give myself the best chance to succeed. So let's go on to the next slide here. We got formation. We got a chart where I charted it according to either under center or shotgun. Shotgun, most of the time, you can run RPOs out of there, all dropbacks and many zone runs out of that. So it's a pass look, as I said, most likely shotgun. And then you got under center, which is way less because you're giving the run look away. And it is used especially on third downs in this pass heavy league, and especially with the RPOs. I think shotgun here does make sense. Then it's the type of motion used. A jet motion is when the receiver crosses jets, like speeds across the formation, and an orbit formation is where a eligible goes around the quarterback. This is so popular by the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills. But pre-snap motion, that's not jet in orbit, that's 52%. So like a loop motion, a rip motion, which is like a jet but by a tight end. So it's basically what they utilize these type of motions to kind of fake the idea that they're passing, and then they end up running. And I hope you're noticing a trend here of kind of disguising the run or disguising the play actions by doing different things. And you see the third table here, I got concept. So I got the concept, whether it's play action or RPO. 45% of pass plays are play action, and obviously it gives them a better chance knowing that the defense is they're trying to freeze the linebackers because is it a run? Is it a RPO? Oh no, it's a play action. So they want to freeze those linebackers or suck them down, especially if it's a cover 4 where they can suck the safeties down. And the efficiency is about 8 yards per attempt on play action. And then you got the RPO, which is 15% of total offensive plays. And I explain this later in the video when I explain the offensive strengths, and then I explain how I expect Stefanski and that Cleveland Brown offense to raise this number significantly, especially with Gabriel Dillon here. This is his 3rd game he starts. He had a 72-73% completion rate using RPOs at Oregon were his primary thing. So it does make sense that RPO usage increased to 15% after they traded away Joe Flacco. It perfectly makes sense. And now that Gabriel Dillon comes in, knowing that he almost won the Heisman because he was an RPO master, they inflated his numbers up. So they're boosting that up as we speak. Let's go to the next slide here. And I know this may be a lot. I worked out so hard on it. I hope you're impressed. Third down conversion rate, 4 out of 11 they went, which is 36.4%. Red zone, 2 for 3, which is 66.7%. And then the 2-minute drill here, they only had one drive. And I had to go back to the preseason game they had against the Los Angeles Rams. Now you got this table right here. You got inside the 20, whether it's run or pass, and the percentage of calls. So if it's a run inside the 20, you absolutely know who they're giving it to in that 20. It's obviously Judkins, and you saw it against Miami and how he impacted the whole team, and against Green Bay. And then there's the passing, 30% in that 20. Obviously they're trying to shrink space even more to where they can run a quick pass, a quick slant, or RPO in the 5-yard line. And it's just approaching it that way. Like, their strength is the run. Their strength is with Gabriel Dillon starting his third game, knowing that he can ace any short pass. And the Cleveland Browns drafted him knowing he's a RPO guy. And they saw his tape at Oregon. It's not like they blind drafted him, so they know. And they drafted Judkins because he was the best running back on the board at that moment. And then they took the best quarterback to suit that, who was available at that moment, in Gabriel Dillon, who they thought they could build an offense around, knowing that he has a great running back in Kudshawn Judkins, opening the RPO game, opening the play-action game, in which Gabriel Dillon is a professional at, and he showed it in college. And now next table here, you see how I categorized it. And the turnovers were 0%, and Gabriel Dillon excels at not turning the ball over. And yes, there are punts, but I mean in terms of getting intercepted or fumbling the ball, just losing the ball and putting it into the defense's hands. Gabriel doesn't do that. And yes, he plays it safe. The short plays and the conservative plays really helping Cleveland move the ball at a high level. But it's still not allowing him to turn the ball over. And finally, for the last slide I have, if this is too much, wait till you see how I scout the defense and break down film. So appreciate you if you're still here. You obviously see here these stats, and they're given after every game. Unlike everything I talked to up to this point where I have to find and write down, you see here 33 run plays, 24 pass plays, 57 total offensive snaps. And then I calculated the percentages. You divide. But where it gets cool is efficiency in key situations. The offense third down percentage conversion rate, 36.4% last game. Ouch. And then Cleveland's third down percentage on defense, so they defended 7.7, which is 1 out of 13. And then red zone efficiency for the Cleveland Browns against the Miami Dolphins was 66.7%. So they converted 2 out of 3. And then you see here the percentage of run despite of personnel. I can break down into personnel is 57.8% and pass is 42.1. This obviously includes RPOs, so you have the option to keep it or throw it or run it yourself, which is why they use it with Gabriel, and it increased dramatically up to 15 after Joe Flacco was gone, because Joe Flacco was more of drop back, and obviously he can't. That Gabriel ran in Oregon where he had the threat to run and also run and pass. But we need to get into the strengths, the weaknesses, and the film. I can't wait till you see how I break down the film. Let's go. Studying the Cleveland Browns here, and let's start with the offense. Starting with the strengths here. First point is the run game and that dual back room potential in Judkins and Sampson. The two rookies seem like one of the more stable pieces, are finding their footing, so if they're getting anything going, it's coming from there. And I think that gives them at least a foundation, forcing defenses to respect the run, and you get play action leverage, so you can set up RPOs and bootlegs. And Gabriel Dillon did that a ton at Oregon, and I think they should be installing those type of plays as we speak. But let's go to the next point here. We got ball security. Gabriel was historically extremely efficient, especially at Oregon. But to be fair, a lot of it were RPOs and short throws and one-read passes. So quick decision making with around 72 to 73% completion rate. And that number, to be fair, is inflated from a ton of RPOs he ran at Oregon. But you still can't take away the precision and decision making. But even if Gabriel Dillon is missing reads, he so far has avoided interceptions. So he's, yes, been safe with the ball, and even if it means punting the ball away, but he knows how to keep the ball out of the defense's hands. So I guess there's something there. But the weaknesses here, and there are a lot of weaknesses, execution breakdowns and a lot of drops, just fundamental failing. Cleveland leads the NFL in drops. Just countless drops by both receivers and tight ends, especially on big third downs this season. And that loses them a ton of games, a ton of possessions. The Browns offense had a ton of penalties, false starts, alignments. So more adversity, and it's a sign of poor discipline and communication. And the last point before we get into the film is lack of explosiveness and vertical play. Gabriel's efficiency metrics are super weak. His yards per attempt extremely low, especially if, as I said, they install more RPOs, which yes will get him in rhythm, but the offense will still live underneath. So almost absolutely no shots downfield at all. So it's a bad indication, especially in today's passing league. You cannot get by like that. Defenses sit on short routes, compressing windows and suffocating the spacing, and until they threaten deep, everything else is going to be harder than it should. But let's dive deep into the film here. And first play here, it's a gun formation. In a formation, I know in my offensive terminology as a gun split double stack look. Out of a 11 personnel look, the strong side with the Y is to the wide side here. Gabriel breaks the huddle, comes to the line, and sees a middle field closed look out of a nickel personnel on defense with a safety type on the line of scrimmage to take the H receiver here. So to the strong side, I have 3 defenders against 3 eligibles, straight up man coverage. On the weak side, on the stack side, I got 2 DB types, so I know it's cover 1 hole in a split second. It can't be cover 1 robber, because obviously you need 2 safeties for that, for one to come down and be a robber or thief. And I think any quarterback in the league but Gabriel Dillon would love this look. He has, as I said, 3 players to the strong side. So in terms of identifying blitzers, Dillon knows number 15 here, Jalen Phillips. He plays outside linebacker, is a potential blitzer, or he's manned up to the running back, the T in the backfield. So he's a potential blitzer. Then there's the Will in the A-gap in the double mug look, who is also a potential blitzer, or a rat defender. So the Will linebacker is either coming or he's going to guard the middle. So I've identified my blitzers there. Now I'm going to the left. So I look to the left side, my weak side, and I see 2 players on 2 eligibles. So there's no potential blitzers there. I'm safe on the left side here. But I'm thinking to myself, they could send a simulated pressure from that side by zoning out Chop Robinson. But then I went back to my notes I took when I reviewed Miami against Patriots, and they almost never do that with Chop Robinson there, number 44. And it totally makes sense. They drafted him in the first round out of Penn State because of his great hands and explosiveness and elite swim moves off the edge. So I've identified my blitzers, and I'm looking to the outside DBs. You gotta know something. The outside DBs will always shade away from their help. So here, the middle field safety is his help. You see the space between him and the sidelines, and he needs to protect that. So his leverage is toward the outside. So I think everyone but Gabriel loves this look. So after identifying the blitzers, I'm going to call out my offensive protection. So I'm calling a half slide right towards number 15, the outside linebacker, Phillips, with my running back on a check and release, and I want him to run a wheel, and I want him to run a wheel route if his man doesn't come. So I'll explain. I have a half slide right means the right tackle blocks number 15, the right guard has the 3-tech defensive tackle, then the center has number 25 here, who is a middle linebacker in Tyrell Dodson, and the left guard has the defensive end, and the left tackle has the star of that line, Chop Robinson, number 44 here, right? And the running back puts his nose in and blocks if the Sam linebacker comes, and then if not, he runs a wheel. And I want it to be a wheel route because then that Sam linebacker would be manned up on him, and then he would fry him and be wide open. Unless Jalen Phillips is manned up on the running back, but that's when I'm going to have all the time in the world in the pocket, which most likely isn't the case because you see number 15 in a blitzing stance here, and even if he bluffed it, I would still be good because I would have time in the pocket. But you have the running back here good, you have the protection perfect, and by the way, the quarterback should be taught to acknowledge all this by me as an offensive coach in like seconds after the huddle breaks. Okay, quarterbacks? So the play called here is a dig to the X wide receiver on the strong side with a smash concept to the stack side to the top of your screen here. And I see, as I said, this dig route. I know he's cutting in. He's against an outside leverage guy. All I need is for that rat to blitz, and I'm just ripping that guy. I'm throwing it to him because the middle of the field is going to be wide open, and my guy's going to burn this cornerback. That's the number one read I want to throw to in this situation because I have the perfect look pre-snap. And then if that's not good, I'm looking to the smash concept and most likely throwing the pivot because the smash route or the corner is going to run directly into the safety and be doubled. And that's the point. It's opening the dig route for you even more. And then if no middle linebackers come, even better, the center and the guard double team the 3-tech and life's great. So here we snap the ball. You see post snap they send 6. So I plan for it. As a quarterback, I have my plan. I keep the running back in and do what I said when I explained the pass pro. But here they chip the tight end, they keep the running back in, and they call Bob protection, which is man protection, across the board. And it's easier for the defensive line to get home and cause disengages. And he's standing in this collapsing pocket where he has more time than he should, knowing that it's a send 6, knowing that he has the best interior lineman, the top 2 interior linemen in offensive guards Wyatt Teller and Joel Bitonio. Oh, and they have a top 5 center in Ethan Pocic, and they have 2 top 5 offensive tackles in Jack Conklin and Cam Robinson. But you get the idea. He's getting more time than he should, and he's not utilizing that. And he's not even looking in the right places. So he's staring at the smash concept. That's one, not your main first read. And second, it's to the short side. It's closest to the middle field safety. Why would you even glare at that? Unless you're looking the safety off, which in this case isn't necessary. But I usually love it in a lot of plays I call against middle field closed. But not in this case. You teach the quarterback to comprehend the play the way I broke it down pre-snap and to look to the side opposite to where the middle field safety goes in a middle field closed look. Or look the man off or look the safety off or do something in that nature. But there is no need for that here. The safety is to the smash side. He runs into the middle field safety man to engage with him, and everything's perfect. Everything's ideal. All you have to do is rip the dig route at the break. It's as simple as that. And I would maybe say he's looking the safety off. Let's just assume that. That's unnecessary and it's not supposed to happen because the smash, the corner is running into him regardless. But let's just assume that's the case. although I highly doubt it is. He doesn't even look at the dig. Like, I don't understand. You have you have man coverage, you have no rat defender, and everything's given to you. It's the perfect situation to put the quarterback in this particular play. Now, Shedeur Sanders, when I used to study him in college, because I adored primetime Sanders, I used to study Shedeur. I study a lot of quarterbacks. It's not just him because of Deion, but in general, Shedeur would hit those. Like, Shedeur would hit those, he would take those. Now, is Stefanski seeing something in Shedeur we don't? Absolutely. Because it's the NFL. It's not college. He's not in Colorado. He plays far better opponents. And I think he sees something we don't. But in general, Shedeur takes those. And would have Shedeur made that play? Yes. Would he be able to continue? I don't know. And I think the answer to Stefanski is no, which is why he isn't starting. And it just made my blood boil. I cannot comprehend how Gabriel did not recognize, and he didn't even look at it. Just a typical missed opportunity by the Cleveland Browns and Dillon Gabriel. Another play by this Cleveland offense here. And on defense here you see a nickel personnel look. And the defensive linemen are in an under look. A 4-2-5 under. I explained how to distinguish in my last video on my board. And I see cover 4 because the strong safety gives it away where he's standing. And the free safety is far in a line in front of the H wide receiver. And the W wide receiver here is what I'm going to call this receiver here, is the responsibility of this slot cornerback right here. The inside shaded outside cornerback. Remember what I said about help? His help is to the sideline this time, so shaded inside. And then there's the Sam and Will middle linebackers. So everything indicates middle field open, cover 4 to me pre-snap. But the halfback here is the responsibility of the Sam middle linebacker. So no potential blitzers as I see as a quarterback. So it's a 40 protection here, unlike last play, which was a 50 protection call. The halfback goes out, we get double teams on the zone man slide, and life's great, easy, right? I see middle linebackers looking at me as a quarterback trying to read me pre-snap. And as I said, are they blitzing? No, they're not, because if one of them blitzes, then the other has to take the halfback or guard the middle, and I'm flooding the middle, so you know that none of them are blitzing. That's the smarter decision by them. If he blitzes, he's giving up a void in the middle of the field, so it's a bigger threat, especially post-snap when he sees I'm flooding that area. So I'm processing all this pre-snap in 2 seconds, knowing that it's 4 D-line based defense, nickel, and I'm confident it's no blitz. So I'm calling a mesh concept coming from the left to right, and what I'm trying to achieve is I'm trying to flood that area in the middle, and I'm trying to make that Sam middle linebacker stay where he is, because I'm flooding the middle heavy, right? So I want the Sam middle linebacker to stay there because he's the biggest threat, because he's the one who has my halfback as his responsibility. So if I can get him to freeze and stay there, even if it's for a couple seconds, because he's going to be forced to stay there, and I'll show you more in depth post snap, but I want him to stay even if it's for a second, so I can read that halfback wheel or rail and hit him quick, wide open, and then it's off to the races. He could potentially score because I'm going to convince the Sam that it's better for him not to leave that area he's guarding. And if not, cool, I can high-low the drag and crosser route or take off because it's no one's taking me into account, so I can get a decent amount of yardage using my legs if I need to. So I got what I like, and okay, white 80, set hut. We snap the ball. I see safety's weight above, and indeed is cover 4. The cornerback on the top of your screen matches, and the Sam middle linebacker, as I explained, he's frozen. You're flooding that area. There are 3 players in that area and 2 in front of him. You think he's going to leave those 2 and just say, hey, I want to take the running back, because he knows I can rip either route real quick as a quick throw. So he's going to stay. I see what I like. I love it. Oh, this is exactly what I want. Rip the T, the halfback who's on the rail route. He's wide open. It's designed to be like that. Everyone does as they're supposed to, except for that Sam middle linebacker who was overloaded by all those routes. And by the way, this is for all the plays I break down on this channel, not just this clip. But if you think and process all the plays I break down the way I teach in these videos, post snap, you're going to know who's open and who's not without looking at the open man. Because, for example, here you see the Sam middle linebacker stay. You know without looking at the halfback that he's going to be wide open. It's just a matter of confirming that he's open, just peeking at him, and then you rip it instantly. You see it. You first look, you see that. And you expect it to happen. So I don't know why you didn't even peek at that running back. He probably saw it late as he was trying to run, and then he was like, no, I don't want to throw it, and then he just runs. I mean, he did that at Oregon as well. But you don't process the way I teach in these videos. But you don't process like this, so how are you going to operate? Hey, even if you don't see the halfback, you can take off and get yards, and that's indeed what he does. So at least he did that and didn't throw it to a double drag or something like Tua Tagovailoa. So thankfully he ran it at least. And the way I break these down, I play the clip, and this is running through my mind in seconds. And if I can do it as a aspiring offensive coordinator, I think an NFL quarterback is very capable of doing it as well. But I don't know, is there nobody not teaching him this? What are you doing? Like, I wish I could see him in the streets and ask him. Like, if I saw him right now, I would literally go up to him, say, hey, I'm a huge fan of quarterbacks in general, and then I'd ask him, what did you see on this play? Why did you act like this? What are your coaches telling you, and what do you think is preventing you from taking these steps? Because I'm confident he should know this. Now, before getting into the defensive film, I need to talk about this defense and how I'm scouting it. So obviously I counted and found these results as I did with the offense. But nickel over, the percentage of coming out in a nickel over, and by the way, in over and under, I explained the difference and how to identify the 3 tech in a separate video. I think it was 2-3 videos ago. I was in front of a board, go check that out. But nickel over, the percentage of coming out in a nickel over personnel is 44%. Then it's nickel under with 24, and 4-3 over, meaning they take out a DB. The percentage of them coming out in that is 20%, and then 4-3 under, it's 11%, obviously, against the Miami Dolphins. And then other, which is dime or nickel double mug, they came out in nickel double mug only on one play, 1%. So not, which was in the fourth quarter at the 2-minute warning when Tua was out of the game and Quinn Ewers came in. And I have a video explaining this defense as well and how to block it. That video came out, last week? It was a cover 0 look, so 0 safeties. It was man across the board. It was trips. It was a trips tight end gun formation. And they send for the Sam linebacker doubles the inner wide receiver on the trip side. And the Will acts as a rat defender. And Quinn Ewers throws a fade, just lobs one up, and it's a dot down the left sidelines. Yeah, that one play they ran double mug. The nickel personnel is their go-to on defense, so there were a lot of plays where they kind of didn't know what to run. Was it 4-3? Was it nickel personnel? And then they would go with nickel, and it's good against the run and the pass. Plus, they don't blitz, they send 4 anyway, those 4 down linemen in that base defense. Obviously, Myles Garrett, no introduction needed. He led the team with 4 sacks and 7 tackles for loss and 6 quarterback hits. Double teamed on around 70% of pass rush attempts, and I think that has to be one of the most in the NFL. Now, a couple notes I wrote, and obviously knowing how they play a lot of cover 1 and cover 4. They want to take matters in their own hands by actually being on you. So now that I know everything, I know how to make my laminated play sheet, which I'll show in the video, a screenshot of it blurred, of course, just like I did 2 weeks ago. I posted it blurred on my YouTube. So these notes I have, first off, pass protection. In order to lessen Garrett's impact, more blocking support on his side is essential. due to high double team rate, and the Miami Dolphins didn't know how to deal with this, and they were not double teaming Myles Garrett almost at all because they were all like one-on-one in bob protection, or they would chip a tight end like half a second, which I would personally block in their second tight end Austin Hooper and chip Hunter Henry. And this is something when I studied the Raiders they did with Michael Mayer. When I studied the Raiders against the Patriots week 1, they were actually using Michael Mayer in block protection, and then they would let him leak out on a seam or on a flat on third down and medium, and nobody would be on him because he would like block for 3 plays then go out on that third down, or they would kind of play with him. And that's the chess game, and I think that's how I would approach this. I would always attach the tight end to Myles Garrett's side, and if he's in the middle, that means I'm blocking my running back. So it's the insane juicy chess match over there. I absolutely love it. And the second point I have is tempo and misdirection. Obviously, by taking advantage of the Browns' aggressive defense, you have to use no huddle, and misdirection plays can lead to confusion. So it can lead to confusion and mismatches at the beginning, at least, to where we make this to where we get the lead early and signal those plays in to go high tempo, tiring their defense out, and utilizing the point I talked about earlier, the miscommunications, to lead to confusion. Also focusing on linebackers in coverage. Their coordinator Schweiger has definitely demonstrated success in the run defense, so he might be more vulnerable in pass coverage, finding advantageous matchups, and particularly against Jenkins, the tackle who they picked up from the Chicago Bears. Just utilizing your matchups, and it's a matchup league and it's a timing league. Knowing your plays, knowing how you're going to approach this game, it's just a matter of outsmarting them, and I think I have the perfect plan how to. Let's get into the film though. Okay, now moving on to the defense over here. First strength we got here is the dominant front with Myles Garrett and Graham, the star defensive tackle out of Michigan. This front is the number one identity of this Cleveland Browns team. Myles Garrett still commanding double teams, while rookie Mason Graham brings real inside pop. He has shown flashes of elite first step quickness, obviously. In that week 3 game, especially against Green Bay, Cleveland loved lining Myles Garrett up next to Mason Graham to collapse that pocket from the inside and disrupt plays like that, forcing quarterbacks to make bad decisions or roll out into a contain, and that's their main point. They love sending 4, doing that, or pressuring Myles Garrett from the edge and Mason Graham from the middle. They send 4 out of nickel personnel around 80% of the time, according to my scouting reports. It's a send 4, but it's dangerous because it still brings a ton of pressure. So the Browns are trying to utilize that by forcing long yardage situations and turning the game into a pass rush clinic. Similar to the first point, but they're top 10 in rush yards allowed per game, and they don't get bullied in the run game. This front wins leverage, so it's gap discipline, and it doesn't happen by luck. Let's go on to the weaknesses over here. Red zone defense are not doing them a favor. Pressure gets neutralized, obviously, down there. So the defense can't always finish drives, so they need to force teams to score outside of the red zone. Not like that's going to do them much of a favor, but it's better than nothing. So past the front line, things unravel. Linebackers and corners struggle to match concepts in the 10-20 yard window. So those are digs, deep outs, and seams. And I have an example on this when I show film. Something I always talk about is communication, right? And communication breakdowns show up in zone matchups. And now I've covered the strengths and weaknesses, so I know this. I've found my percentages. I've created my game plan based on that, my laminated play sheet. And now I've covered the strengths and weaknesses, so I know this opponent like the back of my hand. And now I'm going to show you guys a couple of the many clips that stood out to me. Let's get in. 3rd and 12 here in the fourth quarter at their own 3-yard line. A spread defensive line, and they show this defensive line look a ton. It's cover 3, middle field closed. Look at the slot cornerback. Notice how he's looking at the quarterback, and the strong safety is down opposite to the bunch sides. So it's a slot cornerback plus a Sam behind the left end and left tackle, and the safety behind the right end, but not man across the board. A nickel overlook, an empty split bunch nasty formation by the offense here. The tailback is solo on the other side here, so it's a 3-by-2. The ball is snapped, they send 4, but the blitz here was send 4, simulated pressure here. They half slide left. The slot cornerback comes down the B gap from the right. Left defensive tackle bluff blitzes to send 4, which means he bluffs, which means he bails, and then someone to replace him comes from the other side. So the D-line simulated that it was a pressure, and then the pressure came from the other side, but it's the same amount being sent. So the slot cornerback comes, and the left end, who's one-on-one with the offensive lineman, both get there almost at the same time. Just terrible play call. And obviously, because it's a 3rd and 12, he has to call a long developing concept. But out of empty, I don't really like that. He goes half slide left, meaning it's man pass protection on the other side, but man pass protection obviously can't pick up the slot cornerback on the other side in a half slide unless you kept the running back in. And last week when I did the video covering the Tennessee Titans, they did something very similar to this, where they went empty, backed up in their own end zone, and called man protection and caused a turnover. Last week it was a fumble at the 1-yard line. Now it's a blind pick, and he only throws it to not take a safety. So just like last week, let's do what I would do as opposed to what they would do. But I would slide right here. Not because I saw it already, not at all. Notice here how the right side has 2 eligibles and 3 defenders, the safety, the will, and the outside cornerback. So the extra guy is a blitzer or a rat or a spy defender. And if you look at it in the way I showed you how to when I explained the Cleveland offense, you know that the will is blitzing here. You know it's either the will linebacker blitzing here, or it's one of the 2 guys on the other side here. And Tua is expecting the blitz to that side. On the left here, I would rather have one of those 2 come in free over having the will linebacker come in free as he does in this scenario, because if one of them comes in free on the left over there, one of my eligibles is going to be unguarded. So I can quick throw him a corner or a seam one-on-one and get a decent amount of yardage. And that's why I'd slide to the right, not left here. It gives me the best chance to have the maximum time. The Miami Dolphins half slide left here, so at least he didn't be as dumb as the Tennessee Titans last week. But I don't get why you slide to the left in this scenario. It's 3 eligibles on 3 defenders here. He maybe thinks this Sam linebacker with the slot are blitzing, but even if that's the case, if at least one of them come, you got the H and the Y, the tight end, completely free, unguarded. The safety, the middle field closed player here, is waiting for either one. So you can take the wide receiver who's unguarded here to throw quick on a corner or a seam. So talking about the Miami Dolphins, they half slide left, meaning it's man protection to the other side, which is how the will linebacker gets in here. And that slide protection is correct. If you kept a running back in, then yeah, sure, that running back would take the will, but there is no running back, and you want to adopt a protection scheme that in this scenario, with being backed up, with being in empty, which also in my books is a no-no here, but you still want to be an empty. Okay, fine, I'll tell you how to block it. So they basically slid to this side where I don't see a real potential blitzer, and there may be a blitzer on that side, but if he blitzes, he's at a disadvantage. So as a NFL mind, you know that the percentage of the guy on the right here who I am going to suggest to slide towards, his percentage of blitzing is far beyond the percentage of one of these two blitzing here. So he slides here to the left. So you have the left tackle, the left guard, and the center taking their respective, and then man protection to the other side where the will linebacker comes in absolutely free. He can't be blocked unless it's a running back. So in my method here, I would half slide to the right, not left. And the reason why I'm doing that is because, as I said, the percentage of this guy blitzing is far beyond the percentage of this guy blitzing. And I said why, and I would slide towards him so the left tackle who would take the C gap, so the left tackle would take the end here, and the left guard who's responsible for the B gap would actually take him, would actually take this will linebacker, and then the center on the defensive tackle here, and then you got the guard and the tackle on the left tackle and left end on man protection to the left side here. And that's how I would protect it. Yes, you'd still need to get the ball out, but you still would have way more time. And that will linebacker isn't much of a threat at all because he's on a guard. So now it's all blocked up. And now Tua gives himself even more time. And as you see, ball is snapped here. They sim pressure, and the two guys who Tua thinks are coming do not. And it's totally expected if you're smart, but somehow they don't. And you see how Tua messes up here as always, making it hard on himself. And maybe the base protection told him elsewise and he adjusted the protection. So you can't know whose fault it is here. But I personally would put it on Tua. I'm 100% confident he adjusted it.